Welcome to Dodgers Daily. Casey Porter here, joined by Austin Brubaker on a beautiful Tuesday evening, wherever you may be. It's a great day to be a Dodger, Austin.
Yes, it is. Happy Tuesday before Thanksgiving to you. I know it's in a little bit of an exciting day for you on the Oklahoma State side of things. Just hired a new head coach, so I know that you're busy in mind with a lot of different places, with Thanksgiving being this week, with Dodgers baseball. Always excited to talk about Dodgers baseball, and that's what we're going to do tonight. A lot of exciting stuff we're going to be covering.
Yeah, OSU just hired Eric Morris of the University of North Texas to get themselves back on track. Been busy with that all day. Just got off of a live podcast from that and getting to talk Dodgers baseball. Could not get any better. Plus, we've watched, my wife and I and my two dogs, we've watched about 5 episodes of The Beast in Me, I think's the name of the show, and we got 2 more left when we get off of this. So gonna be probably about 45 minutes to an hour. And as every time we say that, it's usually like 9 hours that we go on for this. Okay, So Austin, we've talked a lot of the hot stove. We're going to talk some hot stove tonight, but really kind of what I wanted to talk about with you is before you get to the hot stove and figure out exactly what you think you need, I think the first thing you have to do is figure out what you have. And not only just what you have, but how you're going to use what you have. So the Haseong Kims, the Alex Freelands, the Ryan Wards, the Dalton Rushings, those kinds of guys, how you plan on using them and the amount of playing time you give them obviously is going to affect the moves you make at the winter meetings coming up. So dive into all of that.
Yeah, I think this is a essential topic to talk about. Something perhaps that we should have done a little bit sooner with the excitement that is free agency and with the excitement that is the possibility of new Dodgers being able to come in. You have to take an evaluation of your roster right now and be able to make determinations of what is necessary and what is important to be able to help elevate the players that are on the roster. And this is so incredibly important, especially for the position player side, which is where we're going to focus on today, because you can't, position player injuries, while they do happen, don't happen as frequently as pitchers do, which means that you need to do what you can to be able to map out something in general as far as plate appearances go, especially if you want to continue with some of the development of your younger players that are part of the equation, like you had mentioned with Rush, with Kim, with Freeland, all of these different players. You have to be able to find an ideal role for them to be able to go out and for them to be able to succeed, because I think that's going to be something that's going to be really important for each one of these guys. What is their role going into this season? So I think it's important to look at all 14 players currently on the 40-man roster for the Dodgers, plus 2 more. We're also going to talk about Miguel Rojas and Kike Hernandez, just because they are very much associated with the Dodgers. So looking at the position players that are currently on the 40-man roster for the Dodgers that we're going to be going over today, a little bit more for other players. There were some players than others. For example, Shohei Ohtani, we kind of already know what his roles are. But the 14 position players currently on the Dodgers 40-man roster: Shohei Ohtani, Will Smith, Mookie Betts, Tommy Edman, Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, Teoscar Hernandez, Andy Pages, Dalton Rushing, Alex Freeland, Haseong Kim, Alex Call, Esteury Ruiz, and Ryan Ward, as well as Miguel Rojas, Kike Hernandez. We're going to be finding optimal roles or ideal roles, and then being able to find different personnel to be able to add into the mix to make it a more comprehensive unit.
When you say as well as Miguel Rojas and Kike Hernandez, explain that.
Okay, so that is not under the assumption that the Dodgers are going to bring back both. Right. That is because both of those players are going to be heavily rumored to be returning to the Dodgers and very possibly could be returning to the Dodgers. If they are returning to the Dodgers, what is going to be the optimal role for them? And even is there even a role for both a Miguel Rojas and a Kike Hernandez? We're going to be talking about them. We're going to be doing a little bit of an overview of each one of those players and what we can realistically expect, not just from them, but from other players on the roster.
So let's start with Kike Hernandez. Do you want him or Brendan Donovan?
Okay, so you're framing it as a either or.
Well, you're not getting Brendan Donovan if you keep Kike Hernandez. I think that's safe to say.
Okay, so the path with the Dodgers roster, where it is right now, let's be frank with this. And this is assuming that Alex Call is part of the equation, because I think he's very likely going to be the 4th outfielder. We'll get to him in just a minute. That puts you currently at 10 position players. If you add both Kike Hernandez and Miguel Rojas, that technically gets you to 12. You technically can add a Brendan Donovan and add both Miguel Rojas and Kike Hernandez, but that means no Haseong Kim, no Alex Freeland, none of those guys, no Ryan Ward being able to fight on
No bueno. No bueno. Haseong Kim needs to be in the lineup every day. Every day.
Okay. So let's. Do you want to talk about Haseong Kim or do you want to talk about Kike Hernandez first? Because I think other one's gonna lead to interesting discussions.
Okay, so let's start with the premise. If I was in the war room, okay, and I was so the way this happens, Coach Holt hit on this the other day.
Yeah.
You have a big board, and whether it's grease pen or whether it's you have the cutouts with the magnets on them, however it may be.
Yes.
You start figuring out playing time, then you work backwards from there. And the way I always did that is you started with your periphery guys, your guys that are on the periphery that, like there's no reason even to waste time on Freddie Freeman. You know what he's going to be. Now, you might spend some time in spring training going, okay, well, how many innings do we actually want to catch Will Smith? Mm-hmm. How many games do we want to catch him? Do we want to map out a guaranteed 62 games for Dalton Rushing regardless? Now, you do that kind of thing with those kind of guys, and we'll get into that.
Yep.
But in terms of roles, we know that Will Smith's going to be the starting catcher, that Mookie Betts is going to be the starting shortstop, Freddie Freeman's going to be the starting first baseman. So you don't even discuss that. The big debates you have are the Haseong Kims, what do we do with Alex Freeland, what do we do with Dalton Rushing, what do we do with Ryan Ward, who's our left fielder, do we move Andy Pages to a corner like I've been saying forever I think you should be? Does Teo Hernandez become a left fielder? Those are the big war room talks. So let's start that with, I think all the dominoes can't drop. I'll say that. Mm-hmm. I don't think any of the dominoes can drop until you figure out exactly what Haseong Kim is, because I think he determines who's your left fielder, who's your second baseman, who do you go get in the free agency or trade market. Based off of that, I think that changes a million different dynamics, however you choose to go with him. If I'm in the war room and I'm putting him up on the board, I'm putting Haseong Kim at second base as my everyday second baseman. I just think his dynamic way that he plays, his speed, his excitement, the way that he can beat a defense in a million different ways, and the fact, Austin, that we know it takes an adjustment period. You come into the major leagues, they're not used to you. You have success, they adjust to you. Then we don't know whether a player can last until you see that first one or two set of adjustments. Let's get that process started for Haseong Kim, just like we saw with Roki Sasaki. And the only way you can do that is by putting the guy on the field and giving him everyday at-bats. So I'm on the board in the war room saying Haseong Kim needs to be the everyday second baseman.
Okay, so I think this is important and relevant because the Dodgers right now have somebody who's considered more of an everyday second baseman, and that's Tommy Edman. Let's talk about.
But he's valuable with the versatility. I'm sorry.
Yes,
go ahead.
yes. Let's talk about Tommy Edman's ideal role, because I think this is really important for the Dodgers and their discussion and the player of who Tommy Edman actually is. The reason why the Dodgers went out and acquired Tommy Edman and then eventually extended him, I don't think had primarily to do with his extraordinary upside with the bat. I think the bat that we saw during the postseason of 2024 NLCS MVP is not the complete version of 162 Tommy Edman that we're most likely to get. I think a profile of Tommy Edman is more of a 90 to 95 WRC plus player, but particularly somebody who can hit left-handed pitching well. If you look at the past 3 seasons, Tommy Edman's a 111 WRC plus against left-handed pitching in particular. So I think with Tommy Edman, a role that's going to work out really well, with him being so good that he is defensively at second base, is primarily the second baseman against left-handed pitching, which is on the short side of the platoon. That means only about 27% of starts are against left-handed pitching, or 27 plate appearances are against left-handed pitching. So I think primarily Tommy Edman, you can have him against left-handed pitching. That's going to be the side that he's going to excel best at as a bat, as well as being that versatile plug-in type player where guys need days off to fill in for guys like a Max Muncy, to fill in for additional time in center field. I think that ideal role, while it's going to seem like a little bit of a step back for Tommy Edman, is going to work out really well for him. And then what that does is that opens up a hole at second base versus right-handed pitching in particular. And there are 2 players on the Dodgers right now that could be fighting.
Well, Austin just froze up. He got too excited, I think, about the Haseong Kim talk. You may have to log off and log back on. So what Austin's talking about, you can see out there. I think he's trying to come back. Austin, can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so the Dodgers have a whole potentially. If you
got no video for you, just so you'll know.
Okay, that's fine. At least you got the audio of me right now. The Dodgers have a hole at second base against right-handed pitching to be able to go out and succeed, or at least there would be ideally.
Austin, why don't you log off and log back on? That won't take just a second.
Yep.
That way we'll have the video. Okay, so Austin is in the middle of a conversation of how do you hand out the at-bats at second base. There we go. That's a lot better. Okay, go ahead. So you were in the middle of a thought there. Go ahead.
Perfect. So we have Tommy Edman versus left-handed pitching and being versatile as a defender. I think that's going to be the optimal role for him versus right-handed pitching. There is an opening in which you could say that Haseong Kim could fill in that role really well. I think this where this comes to a really good discussion is let's take a little bit of an overall evaluation of where Haseong Kim is and what you think he's going to be going forward, because I think there are some potential warning signs for him based on the season that he had, and we can talk about what is going to go on going forward into the 2026 season. So Haseong Kim last year, just reviewing some of the numbers, 280 batting average on the season, a 95 WRC plus, 314 on base percentage, 385 slugging percentage. Some of the worrying signs, and this is where there could very well be some warning signs for Haseong Kim as a player and whether the Dodgers want to give him the bulk of plate appearances at second base. His batting average in balls in play was near 400. That typically is going to regress a little bit. His expected weighted on base.
When you have his speed? That goes to his speed more than it does regression to me.
Not to being a 400 batting average on balls in play type of player.
He can hit out a 2-hop ground ball to shortstop and beat it out.
Yes, I think it's closer to maybe 340 type of batting average in balls in play. I think it's better than league average, but I don't think it's to the extreme of what it is. And then some of the other numbers, and all I'm doing is creating a little bit of a warning sign based on the numbers that we saw last year. His expected weighted on base average was 259, which is not great at all. Remember,
but that's based on how hard he hits the ball, the launch angle of it, this and that. And that doesn't incorporate the speed into that, does it?
Yes, and barrel percentage, hard hit percentage aren't great. The other thing that is worrisome about Haseong Kim is he struck out quite a bit.
I agree.
And that is the biggest thing is he going to be able to make consistent enough contact, because he was a 30% plus strikeout percentage. And if you look at his last couple of months, June 10th until the end of the season, his final 106 plate appearances, it was just a 200 batting average, a 39 WRC plus type of player. Is that somebody that you are comfortable right now giving the reins of the bulk of playing time to continue his development at second base? That is going to be a massive question. How do you actually optimize the skill sets that Haseong Kim has? Is it giving him time to fail at the major league level, or is it continuing his development at the AAA level? Those are really difficult conversations, but there is some worrying trends within the numbers.
Not difficult conversation at all. I don't mean to be argumentative, but I'll tell you this. I have seen him play in AAA Oklahoma City, and there is nothing there for him to learn. Nothing. He is so, to me, if he doesn't perform, it's because he's bored. I mean, he is really good at that level. I don't want to see him in Oklahoma City. As fun as it would be, I got to interview him. That was incredible. He's incredible to watch. I just don't see where AAA Oklahoma City is any kind of development for him. So a lot of where I'm coming at this from is I understand he struck out too much. I understand he needs to walk more. I understand the underlying metrics would say that, hey, he should regress back to the mean, all of this and all that. But if you want Haseong Kim to actually strike out less, if you want him to walk more, if you want him to become the type of player he's capable of being, there's only one way of doing that, and that is put him in the damn lineup and let him work through all these issues. Give him a set of metrics. Hey, Haseong, this is what we want you to do. These are the numbers that we want you to hit. We're going to give you 500 at-bats. We're going to go out and see if you can do it. And I promise you he will. This guy is that talented. So I'll say this. If you just kind of do what they did with him at the end of last year, you go over all the numbers from June on, I would say the biggest contributing factor to that is inconsistent at-bats. If you look at the at-bats that he got, they were very inconsistent. You can't expect anything out of anybody who's trying to break into the major leagues with any kind of inconsistent play. That would be my pushback.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that that played a contributing role in that, especially the last couple months of the season. We did see in that stretch, in that sample size, a little bit of consistent at-bats, a little bit of inconsistency, maybe every other day type of plate appearances from him from the middle of June, which is where I have this, until the end of July. But with Hyeseong, I think the difficulty of this is I totally agree with you. Hyeseong needs to be able to develop at the major league level. The complicating factor is you basically, especially if you bring back one of Miguel Rojas and Kike Hernandez, you only have one spot to be able to do that for three guys who are arguably in the exact same shoes as Hyeseong, and with a little bit of complicating factor of how you're going to be able to get them playing time, because this is the exact same argument for Haseong Kim, is the exact same argument for Alex Freeland, is the exact same argument for Ryan Ward, because they need to get consistent playing time and development at the major league level. So the question is, why Haseong Kim over those guys to be able to get the development at the major league level? And what is the potential long-term fit of Haseong Kim on the roster?
Well, let me ask you this. Who has the highest upside?
It's a good question.
No, it's not. That's not even close to me. That's Haseong Kim. He has, so whenever you look at upside, you look at tools. I mean, Haseong Kim can hit home runs just like Alex Freeland can. We've seen it, okay? I mean, Haseong Kim, Alex Freeland's a very good, I don't mean this to a slight to Alex Freeland. I'm just telling you, go back to my Chris Gutierrez, who is the third base coach for Oklahoma City, and just watch him, and whenever I asked him about Haseong, just kind of watch his reaction. And then Dylan Nishotka, the hitting coach for Oklahoma City, they were literally just shocked at how fast and just how explosive, how strong, how incredibly talented this young man. These are professional baseball coaches that when they first saw him play, they were like, oh my God, this guy's incredible. So I love Alex Freeland. I love Ryan Ward, okay? But when it comes to doing everything, and hey, Alex Freeland has stolen 30 bases, 2 or 3 times in his career already? So he's a great stolen base guy, but not like Haseong Kim. He doesn't have speed like Haseong Kim. I would say that Haseong Kim has more range defensively. I think the gloves are similar. I think probably the arms are similar, although I think Haseong Kim probably cuts the throw down further. So as much as I love Alex Freeland, if you're going to put Alex Freeland versus Haseong Kim, okay, there's a couple of arguments. Who has the highest floor and who has the highest floor and the highest ceiling? I don't know about the highest floor. I think probably Haseong Kim, because Alex Freeland does swing and miss a lot. But I would say definitely the highest ceiling is Haseong Kim. And when you're looking for a future player in an organization full of all-stars, I think you make your decision based on the highest ceiling and not the highest floor. And that guy to me is Haseong Kim.
Yes. If Alex Freeland, though, is able to get into his power, I think Alex Freeland has more in-game power. Not that he can hit the ball further than Haseong Kim, which we saw Haseong Kim hit a massive home run in the 2025 season. I think it was for Oklahoma City. He hit an absolute bomb with that. But I think the in-game consistent power that Alex Freeland is able to generate, I think is going to be a little bit more consistent. And I think this provides a little bit of an interesting equation of how you view Alex Freeland, especially with some of the needs on the roster. We look at especially the left side of the infield. Mookie Betts at shortstop. Phenomenal season at shortstop. Should remain the shortstop for the Los Angeles Dodgers. If you assume that that's not impacting how his offense is doing, he performed really well. How long is he going to be able to do that consistently? And is he going to have to transition over to the second base position? And not just with Mookie Betts, but
this
also
is Alex Freeland,
Max.
By the way. Sorry, not to interrupt, but I want people to know we went from Kim to this is Freeland now.
Yep.
Okay.
It's not only with Mookie Betts, but we also know that the Dodgers eventually are going to move off of Max Muncy at the third base position. If you're looking at somebody who potentially profiles well at the third base position and has had a good consistent history of being able to post some numbers at the minor league level with Alex Freeland, he's a different type of player than Haseong Kim is, which I think makes it very difficult to be able to do a one-on-one comparison.
How's he different?
Players.
They both steal a lot of bases. They both hit some home runs. They both strike out a lot. How are they different?
Alex Freeland is a much more patient type hitter, meaning he's not somebody who's going to swing a lot. He is, when he's on his best, going to be a player that's going to draw a lot of walks, and he's looking for a lot of that gap-to-gap type of power that he's looking for.
Can you give me Haseong Kim's walk rate at the minor league level?
I can do that. Yeah, at the minor league.
The old phrase, you can't walk yourself off the island. When you're Haseong Kim and you're trying to get major league at bats, I know that we know better that, hey, if you draw good walks, that can get you there. But I'm sure he's thinking, I have to hit my way on, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know this, by the way. I could be proving myself right or wrong here. I don't know.
Yeah, so Haseong Kim last year at Oklahoma City, which is the only statistics that we actually have for him, is about a 7.7 walk percentage. You also look at his swing percentage, how often he swings. At AAA last year was about 48%. Alex Freeland's going to sit more in the 38 to 41% swing percentage, which means he's going to be a little bit much more of a patient type hitter, looking to draw the plate appearances a little bit more.
What was the strikeout rate at the AAA level?
At the AAA, you're looking at Haseong Kim, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So Haseong Kim last year at the AAA level was about 25% strikeout percentage.
Yes. Okay.
And if we look at Alex Freeland, it was about 22% at the AAA level. So
very similar.
Both of them have concerns with swing and miss, and both of them have a lot of different talent too. But I think if you profile them positionally, I think Haseong Kim's more of that middle infielder, that second base or shortstop type
no
role.
doubt.
Whereas Alex Freeland, he can definitely play the second base position. And you look at the numbers of what he put last year was really solid at second base. I think he profiles a little bit better at the left side of the infield, though, at the shortstop and third base, where there could be some long-term concerns for Alex Freeland going forward. And one thing that I don't want Dodgers fans to do immediately, and this was actually when I was doing a little bit of research, and perhaps this is something where we get into a kind of conversation with Dalton Rushing, because I have a comparison with Dalton Rushing in his season to somebody that actually is pretty solid at the major league level. I don't want you to do a complete evaluation of how these players performed just in the 2025 season at the major league level, because the first 100 or so plate appearances are not always indicative of the type of player that you are at the major league level. More on that to come later.
So who has the best tool? The number, just if I were to say any of the tools, you're looking at Haseong Kim here.
Yes.
Who has the number one best tool? What would that be?
Of between the two of them, yes. I would probably say Haseong Kim, probably with the defense as a little bit of an edge. But that's not to slay any of Alex Freeland's defense. And then Hyeseong Kim's also incredibly fast too. Those would be the two tools that he has that are really good.
Yeah, Haseong Kim definitely has the number one tool between the two players, and that is his foot speed. If you're telling me you think Haseong Kim is a better defender than Alex Freeland, then I think it's an absolute slam dunk that he if it's a second base situation, that'd be him. You're saying you can play a little second base, a little third base, and what I'm saying is if you play Haseong Kim at second base, that gives you a role for Tommy Edman at second base as well against left-handed pitching. That also probably gives Tommy Edman some outfield action, which is I don't think the Dodgers brought Tommy Edman over. Let me switch this back over. I don't think the Dodgers brought Tommy Edman over to be an everyday player at any one spot. I know he's a Gold Glove second baseman, but I think the Dodgers need to be able to use him in a way that's going to keep him healthy. He has not been able to stay healthy. That's been his biggest problem. So if the Dodgers can strategically give him playing time that maximizes his health, then maximizes his matchups. So you say he's a 95 WRC plus, around a league average type player, but if he's only hitting against right-handed or left-handed pitching, and then he's playing both second and left field against those matchups hitting, there's nothing to say he couldn't be quite a bit better than that just because he's getting better matchups. Playing a Haseong Kim at second base would do that for a Tommy Edman. That's where I'm coming at.
Okay, so let's talk about the splits. Haseong Kim and Alex Freeland. So with Haseong Kim last year, and we're going to just use the major league statistics with the splits that they had, very limited time for both of them. Then we'll talk about the overall big picture. Haseong Kim, 85 WRC plus versus right-handed pitching, which would be the role that he would have. 166 against left-handed pitching. Now,
who are you talking about?
This is with Haseong Kim. Now, okay, with the 166 WRC plus against left-handed pitching, I say look at the way that the Dodgers played them. And he did not play a whole lot against lefties, which means that in their mind, at least, they think that's a little bit more of a mirage. And they say that he's going to profile a little bit better against righties. Fits in well with a pair of matching up well with a Tommy Edman. Now with Alex Freeland, last year at the major league level, 83 WRC plus, basically the exact same as Haseong Kim versus right-handed pitching. He was not good against left-handed pitching, though. Alex Freeland was just a 21 WRC plus against lefties. However, in the role that we're talking about, it's almost an exclusive right-handed matchup type of role. So in the major league level, at least, it's a little bit of a wash. You don't have as much history with Haseong Kim being able to look at over here in America about his splits, lefty versus righty. Alex Freeland very much is somebody who's going to hit right-handers a lot better than left-handed pitching. So looking at that matchup, that's going to be something to keep an eye on for both of them. Both really good players. Both, I think, have some sort of future going forward and have an opportunity to be able to fight for some sort of role. But that's only if a roster spot is open. Again, Miguel Rojas and Kike Hernandez are added to the roster. There is no room for either of these, in which case they can both fight for the second base position in Oklahoma City, or as it would happen, both of them would get every single day at bats at Oklahoma City.
And where did Haseong Kim come from?
Haseong Kim came over from the KBO and played a lot of baseball over there.
Good. It's far cry from Major League Baseball. And let me explain this to you. And Chris Gutierrez, I think it was Chris, either Chris or Dylan, I think it was Chris, the third base, the infield coach for Oklahoma City, AAA Oklahoma City. He point blank said the hardest adjustment for Haseong Kim was he had to get used to how hard the ball is hit in America. So what I'm trying to tell you is the stats are great, okay, but first of all, it's sporadic. It's especially at the major league level, because he is coming to America trying to get used to a whole different culture. He's coming to America trying to get used to a higher level of baseball. I mean, whenever Chris Gutierrez said he had to get used to how hard the ball was hit, that was at the AAA level. Yeah. So that just goes to tell you the competition level was way higher than he even was expecting. So the transition period for Haseong Kim, you have to put that into the equation. Alex Freeland has been a minor leaguer for what, 4 years now, 3 to 4 years now. He has gotten to make that from here to here to here to here, and there's none of that transition. So it's pretty much what you see with Alex Freeland is what you're going to get in terms of the snapshot you can get throughout his minor league career. What you see with what Haseong Kim has given you is the first year of coming over from the KBO, getting used to how good American baseball players are, getting used to how good it is every day, getting used to trying to be in a new culture, getting used to making a major league debut, being on a team with some of his heroes. And I just, not to argue against your stats, I just have a hard time putting any kind of stock into him just with all the variables that went into Haseong Kim. And so that defaults me just to looking at the tools that I got to see with my eyes every day that were verified by two of the coaches on the staff that were both like, damn, man, I've never seen anything like this before. That's where I default to.
Yep, and that is totally fair to be able to look at the tools. That's obviously what the Dodgers did when they brought over a player like a Haseong Kim. So I guess this brings up a really fascinating question, because we're talking a lot about Haseong Kim, and we're talking a lot about Alex Freeland. And I think you've been a lot more focused on a Haseong Kim. Perhaps I've been a little bit more focused on Alex Freeland. Good. What is the future of the left side of the infield past 2026, if there is? And if it is Haseong Kim that's getting a majority of the plate appearances in 2026, do you potentially see Alex Freeland playing some sort of role in 2027 on the left side of the infield, either shortstop or third base? Shortstop only if Mookie Betts moves over towards the second base position, but likely third base with Max Muncy. Max Muncy's last year is 2026, currently under contract with the Dodgers, obviously could re-sign from there. Do you see some sort of potential avenue for him to be able to establish himself more as a big league regular for the 2027 season? And how important is it for the Dodgers to be able to see?
Who are we talking about here?
We're talking about Alex Freeland.
Yes.
How important is it for the Dodgers to figure out if they have something there for the 2027 season before Max Muncy enters free agency and there's a giant hole over at third base where Alex Freeland could go ahead and enter?
So one of the arguments for, hey, let's play Alex Freeland every single day next year is because we need to see if he is the incumbent to Max Muncy at third base.
That could be very much one of the reasons why you go ahead and do that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so how important is it for the Dodgers to be able to find that specific answer? And is that answer going to be had more at the minor league level? Or perhaps this is something of an interesting conversation. Who needs development at the minor league level
Alex
more?
Freeland,
Alex Freeland or
Alex
Haseong
Freeland.
Kim, and why?
Because Haseong Kim needs to get used to the major league game more than Alex Freeland. Alex Freeland, the game, you saw him. I mean, the game's not too fast for Alex Freeland right now. When Alex Freeland fails, it's because he has holes in his game. Are you following what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. To me, a lot of times when Haseong Kim has failed, it's because the game is moving too fast. It's a little too competitive for him right now because he didn't grow up playing at this competitive level. The game is not too fast for Alex Freeland. Again, when he fails, it's because he has holes in his swing that we've seen all the way back to the beginning of his minor league career and all the way back to UCF. Does that make sense?
Yes. Let me push back.
So Alex Freeland has more to do and more to fix in the AAA level than Haseong Kim.
Okay, so let me push back just slightly with this, just because I think it's a fascinating conversation.
It is.
And we talked a little bit about the strikeout percentages for both Alex Freeland and Haseong Kim. There was a massive jump from the AAA level to the major league level for Alex Freeland and his strikeout percentage, going from about 21% to about 36%, which is not good. And he certainly has to find different ways to be able to adapt better to major league pitching. However, with Haseong Kim, it was about 25% to about 30% from the minor leagues to the major league levels. Does Haseong Kim need to find a way to be able to cut down on the swing and miss? And does the cutting down on the swing and miss need to come in AAA, or does it need to come in the major league level?
Major league level. No
question. So then how is he going to be able to cut down the swing and miss without getting consistent regular at bats? What is the process that he has to do to be able to go through? That's not
my argument. My original argument, that's exactly what I said at the very beginning of this was, this is exactly why if it was me in the war room, I am putting Haseong Kim down as my everyday second baseman and telling him you have 500 at bats. Here are the metrics we want you to hit. Go do it.
Okay, so with that, how much more room is there for him to be able to? I guess the argument that I'm trying to make with this is let's say with just Alex Freeland in general, just because we're having this fun back and forth conversation with his 21% strikeout percentage that he has, how much more can he cut down on that at the AAA level? Freeland, yes, from 21%. How much more does he need to cut down on that at the AAA level?
I think the disease starts becoming worse than the cure if you go below 21%. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
he loses too many other parts of his game.
Yeah. So then he doesn't have anywhere to be able to grow in that specific area at the AAA level. Whereas with Haseong Kim, how much lower does he need to go than his 25% strikeout percentage at the AAA level? How much lower does that need to go for him to be an effective type of player?
As far as where he needs to be on the strikeout rate?
On the strikeout rate for him, just to complement all of the different tools that he has. What should that be generally?
So I would say that his strikeout rate should definitely be below 20%, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right. And I think you saw him handle the major league transition in that aspect of it better than Alex Freeland did.
Initially, yes. And I think this is something that as he went along and where some of the worrying trends and stuff take place is we started to see some of the numbers really drop off over the course, especially as the swing and miss wasn't completely addressed. And the reason why there could be an argument of Haseong Kim back at the AAA level is there's more room to be able to cut that down, the strikeout percentage down at the Oklahoma City level to fix some of the things perhaps that he has, just being able to adapt to baseball over here in America, get that a little bit more consistent before he goes and makes that jump over to the major league level. Whereas with an Alex Freeland, you talk about there not being really any sort of room for him to be able to lower the strikeout percentage more than what that will take away from the other skill sets of his game, which means in that specific aspect, there might not be a whole lot of more room for him to be able to grow and develop at the minor league level, whereas the real development for him might just need to be able to come from the major league pitching. It's a fascinating conversation of who needs the major league plate appearances in 2026 immediately more to be able to fix some of the holes in their game and get them into becoming more complete players.
You know what the answer to that is, don't you?
What's that?
Both.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's both. But they don't have room for both.
There is no one or the other, really.
They have room for maybe one of these guys. And ideally, one of these guys would take over the role as being against right-handed pitching, the second baseman. But that's not, and this is not even taken into account to a player like Ryan Ward. If one of these players makes it onto the roster, assuming they bring in some sort of player, Brendan Donovan, or an outfielder, there's no role for a Ryan Ward on this roster. So let's talk a little bit about Wardo. What should be the role with Wardo?
Well, let me get some video up on the good conversation. I would probably say that if I was in the crowd, I would probably in that debate we just had, I probably would lean on your side on that. But I would just say you got to see this guy with your own eyes.
Yes,
I'm a Haseong Kim.
Absolutely.
If you're going to tell me you don't want him at the major league level, you need to watch him with your own eyes. That's all I would say.
Yep. Yep. Watch him at the major league. Watch him at the AAA level. I mean, he's incredibly enthusiastic, and not just enthusiastic, but his ability to be able to play is off the charts. The Dodgers got a really good player, and we want to see the best of Haseong Kim. We want to put him in a position to actually succeed. And that's the conversation with that. But Wardo, how do we get this guy?
Hold on, before you go on. Please don't think that I am trying to downplay Alex Freeland.
Yes.
I love Alex Freeland. I'm not trying to say that I don't. I think Alex Freeland needs to be an everyday major leaguer, and I think he'll be a very good everyday. I have no problems if he's the next third baseman for the Dodgers. So please don't take this as a slight to Alex Freeland. I'm just saying once you see Haseong Kim with your own eyes, it's an experience you don't forget. That's all I'm saying. I don't take this as a negative towards Alex Freeland. Now let's get into my boy Ryan Wardo, and let's talk some Wardo, baby. Let's go.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Wardo, because what else is there for him to be able to prove at the minor league level? And that was the big question with him when the Dodgers added him on, because the improvements that he made in 2025, I talked a little bit about this in the Rule 5 draft coverage, the improvements that he made were remarkable. Significant. He went from in 2024 a 108 WRC plus player to a 132 WRC plus, and being the Pacific Coast League MVP. His power is off the chart. 36 home runs for this guy. Ryan Ward boosted his walk percentage dramatically to about close to 13%. We're cutting down his strikeout percentage to about 19%. He's swinging a lot less as a player. He's swinging and missing a lot less as a player. He's making the adjustments that he needs to, and he very much is somebody who he's spent 3 years at the AAA level. But currently, assuming that the Dodgers bring in some sort of outfielder, which is the call for Dodgers fans, it's either him being the fourth outfielder over Alex Call, which is unlikely because Ryan Ward can play left field and right field, whereas Alex Call can fill in at all three outfield spots and has more major league plate appearances. Or it's back in Oklahoma City if he's in the Dodgers organization.
No.
What is the role for Ryan Ward, and what should the Dodgers do with him, and what is ideally for him?
Trade him.
Yes.
Because they're going to go find another left fielder, and I just don't think I can stomach watching Ryan Ward for a fourth, fifth, and sixth year in Oklahoma City. He deserves an opportunity too much, in my opinion.
Is there any path where Ryan Ward should be on the Dodgers 40-man roster, or is there any avenue in which the Dodgers can fit him onto the 26-man roster? Is there any path for them to be able to do that?
Well, we're going to know based on what they do with their left field position in the offseason here. If they go get Stephen Kwan or Brendan Donovan or any of those guys, it is adios to Ryan Ward. They almost immediately have to trade. So, like, if they trade for Stephen Kwan, one of the guys in that trade package has to be Ryan Ward, right? So, if they don't go get a left fielder, okay, fine. That kind of goes. So that's scenario number one is you put Haseong Kim at second base. Tommy Edman then can play a little bit of left field. Alex Call can play some left field. Ryan Ward can play some left field. And when a guy's on the injured list, like if Tommy Edman's on the injured list, or if Kike Hernandez isn't healthy all the time, or whatever it may be. But the thing about Ryan Ward right now is I think they did put him on the 40-man because I didn't want to just get nothing out of him, and then that makes him tradable. So I don't think they know. We can sit here and have this conversation and talk about it and have a good time talking about it, but I can tell you right now that Andrew Friedman and Brandon Gomes and Billy Gasparino, they don't know what the role for Ryan Ward's going to be because they don't know what they're going to do in the offseason. If they don't like the trade packages for Stephen Kwan, they're going to get turned down by Kyle Tucker. If they can't get something figured out for a Lars Nootbaar or Brendan Donovan, then Ryan Ward maybe entered the equation.
Yes.
But if they do go get somebody else, then he's out of that picture. So we really won't know the answer to this probably until spring training.
So I think there is potentially one path for Ryan Ward. It's like the Avengers when there's like one specific path that I can see for Ryan Ward. And still, this is going to be it's a battle for him to be able to enter to the mix. And the one player, and the reason why I argued to bring in this type of player is if specifically they go out and get a Brendan Donovan. The reason why him specifically is because he's more of a second baseman / left fielder, which means they can utilize him, Brendan Donovan, in either one of those roles, particularly against right-handed pitching. So if Brendan Donovan is the second baseman against right-handed pitching, that leaves an opening against right-handed pitching in left field. I think that is the only path that you could pursue, and that's assuming the Dodgers trade for Brendan Donovan and assuming that there is a three-way competition between Haseong Kim, Alex Freeland, and Ryan Ward, in which Ryan Ward wins that battle in particular. But even if that is the case, and even if they do that, it would be more of a platoon type role at the major league level with Ryan Ward. Actually, at the minor league level, Ryan Ward, a 1.038 OPS against right-handed pitching. That's what you call really good for Ryan Ward. That's phenomenal for him. He can hit for power against right-handed pitching, and I think this is a little bit more of the backup alternative type plan. But I totally agree with you. The math to get him onto the roster remains incredibly narrow and small, and it really comes down to, do you get somebody that can be a little bit more versatile, can play a little bit of second base and fill in the role from there? That's the only path that opens up an opportunity. With Alex Call, I think he's going to be somebody that's going to be a fourth outfielder / get some plate appearances, particularly against left-handed pitching, which means that there could be a natural platoon with Wardo and Alex Call if the equation is have Ryan Ward be part of the outfield. But the math is really looking difficult to be able to add him to the mix. What I hope he isn't, and this was the first thing that I thought of when the Dodgers decided to add him to the 40-man roster, man, I hope this kid is not just forever stuck in Oklahoma City, which the Dodgers right now, they technically do have the options to keep him in Oklahoma City for the next 3 years, which for him
didn't do it
really
to Hunter Fiducia. They did not do it to Fetty. They gave Fetty a chance in Tampa Bay. That's my hope.
Yep, and you got to trust the organization to do right by the specific player. But it comes down to Ryan Ward. If he makes it onto the roster, I think the ideal role for him is going to be that platoon outfield with him facing against right-handed pitching, get a bulk of plate appearances against righties, and then Alex Call being the other side of that platoon.
And what you're saying is that makes Tommy Edman your everyday second baseman, unless you want, because Haseong Kim then is pretty much eliminated there. So
no, what that is if the Dodgers were to trade for Brendan Donovan, that would make Brendan Donovan the second baseman against right-handed pitching, and Tommy Edman the second baseman versus lefties.
Eliminates Haseong Kim is what I'm saying. Yeah,
that would eliminate Haseong Kim, and that would eliminate Alex Freeland back to Oklahoma City.
So what Dodger fan is going to say, hell yeah, bring me Ryan Ward instead of Haseong Kim? Who's going to say that?
Well, I mean, you look at the numbers for Ryan Ward, at least what he had at AAA, and you say that's pretty good.
Yeah, I get it, but it's a AAA.
And the reason why you potentially, and the only reason why you would do that is if you're like, I'm buying into some of the numbers that Ryan Ward and the adjustments, particularly that he had in the peripheries, and you have worrying trends with both Alex Freeland and Haseong Kim, particularly with the swing and miss that they have. You think that Ryan Ward, because of the experience and the years of experience he's had at Oklahoma City, you think he can adapt more quickly in the 2026 season?
I don't disagree. What Dodger fan is going to think like that?
Somebody who likes numbers.
I'm just telling you, if I get on here and I'm going, man, I want I want Ryan Ward on this roster to play left field every day, or even in a platoon, and I want him, which means it's going to eliminate Haseong Kim, which means Haseong Kim doesn't play at the major league level this year. He has to go down to AAA, and hey, that's good for Haseong Kim because he's got this hole and that hole and this hole and that hole to work on. And I want that moves Alex Freeland down to AAA because he's got this hole, that hole, this hole, that hole. The Dodgers fans would come on this show and laugh me out of the whole place. They would go, okay, well, I'm going over somewhere else and watching their show because this guy's full of shit, right? Isn't that what most Dodgers fans would say?
I don't know. We got, 83 different wonderful people that seem to be tuning in. So maybe they would tune into a little bit of that. But certainly, I think with all of these different players. There's certainly holes that they could have. And
100%.
if they are part of the roster, and this was one of my main arguments with Brendan Donovan, is I want each of these guys to be able to fight and get a fair shot at the roster. If Ryan Ward is part of the 40-man roster, he deserves a fair shot at being able to crack the 26-man roster. I just don't know if he's going to get that fair shot if they bring in somebody like a Stephen Kwan or a Jaron Duran or a whoever you have that's going to be a little bit more of a full-time outfielder, because then you have three outfielders that are going to be playing every single day.
But do you see why I say trade Wardo?
Because
how can I make the argument to say, hey, he needs to get all those at-bats instead of Haseong Kim or Alex Freeland or Tommy Edman or Brendan Donovan or Kike Hernandez or Miguel Ra? How do I make that argument with a straight face? Do you see why I say trade Ryan Ward?
Yeah, it makes complete sense, and that's the reason why going into this offseason, we did not anticipate Ryan Ward to be added to this roster. We expected him to be a free agent and go out and pursue what other opportunities that he wanted. And there was going to be probably some decent opportunities for him to be able to go out and have some success. Matt Sauer signed a near $1 million deal to go pitch over, I believe it was for the KBO. There was going to be opportunities for somebody who is the Pacific Coast League MVP, either at the major league level or at some sort of international affair. So they have to do right by Ryan Ward by either giving him a fair shot or by trading him.
Hey, write this down. We have a question about Sonny Gray, and we're actually going to get into that tomorrow night, because tomorrow night we're going to dive into all the position battles for the pitchers. So for the position battles, we kind of broke it down into two categories, or for all the position battles. Yeah, we broke it down into position players and then pitchers. Tonight's for position players, and we wanted to make sure and get into our last topic because we got about 10 more minutes, Austin. You good with that?
I could go for another hour if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. And then my wife and I, my two babies, we're going to get back on the couch and we're going to hunker down and probably finish the Beast and Me series. By the way, if you haven't seen that on Netflix, it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And trust me, we're not sponsored by Netflix because they don't know what Dodgers Daily is, right?
Well, one of these days they will.
Okay, so two more topics. There's about 400 at-bats to be given from not having Michael Conforto on this team. That's number one. How do you divvy out those at-bats? You, Austin Brubaker, being the statistician. Number two, how in the hell do you get Dalton Rushing more consistent at-bats so he can get his strikeout rate down?
Yep, that is the massive question. With Michael Conforto, I fully anticipate them to bring in an external option, which is going to eat up a vast majority of those plate appearances. What's going to be difficult and perhaps could be a little bit of a fun exercise for maybe one of the solo shows that I have is we can go through each one of the individual players, map out based on past history and what we think is going to happen going forward, number of plate appearances, because you have about 6,100 plate appearances that you can map out throughout the course of the season, 61, 6,200, something like that. And you can actually go through and map out and how many plate appearances do I want to give to each one of these guys. But you mentioned Dalton Rushing, which we still have to get into the Miguel Rojas, Kike Hernandez, because I want to address that a little bit on here. But Dalton Rushing absolutely is somebody that they have to find some sort of way to be able to get into the plate appearances. One thing that I don't want Dodgers fans to do completely, though, and this is going to be the tricky part of the equation because Dalton Rushing really struggled this past season. There's no doubt about it. 62 WRC plus, strikeout percentage of 37, 38%, something like that. A lot of swing miss, way more than what he has. And it was in part because of the inconsistent at-bats that he had. And it was through 155 plate appearances, Dalton Rushing massively struggled. And they have to find some sort of way to be able to.
Let me say this before you go on, okay? Yes. And I'm a huge Dalton Rushing fan. I will defend him.
Yes.
But I don't want you to think I can't defend. He didn't hit the ball well. He didn't hit the ball. Whatever role you're given, you have to be the best in that role. And yes, I think the inconsistent at-bats played into the fact that he wasn't good. Mm-hmm. Okay, but I am not going to use that as a crux. I would walk up to Dalton right now and say, Dalton, I'm not letting you off the hook that easy, brother. You're no matter what role you're given, you're better than you performed last year. So yes, it was inconsistent bats, but I'm also going to say, hey, Dalton, you got to be better than you were, and I expect that out of you coming next year. There you go. I wanted to say
that is absolutely correct. But there are far too many Dodgers fans that are completely abandoning the ship right now. And I want to provide a little bit of a warning, because this is something that we see consistently throughout the history of baseball, including with some of the best players in the game of baseball, because there is a specific player that also had a 62 WRC plus in his first season, about 100 plate appearances. I don't remember how consistent, probably a little bit more consistent of plate appearances, but his strikeout percentage was actually worse than what Dalton Rushing had. His strikeout percentage was closer to 45%. He then went on to become the best hitter in the game of baseball. If you look at Aaron Judge's 2016 season, that is the exact same as Dalton Rushing his season, which means if you are abandoning the ship on Dalton Rushing, you likely would have abandoned the ship on Aaron Judge in his first 100 plate appearances. Yes. And that next season, he was able to turn it around. Now, what am I not saying? That Dalton Rushing is going to become Aaron Judge. That would be stupid and idiotic of me. Aaron Judge is the best hitter in the game of baseball.
You're saying you can't give up on him like this.
What I am saying is you can't give up on these young players, and that includes Dalton Rushing. That includes Alex Freeland. Mike Trout had an 87 WRC plus during his first season at the big league level and turned into
with
the best player in the game.
Consistent at bats, by the way.
Yes. Don't give up on these young guys quite yet.
Great.
Now, with Dalton Rushing, he's not going to become Aaron Judge, but the tools in the past history at the minor league level shows that there's a much better hitter in there. And if you look at some of the peripheries, particularly on the power component, there is a lot of underlying data with his power that suggests that he can really improve if he cuts down on the swing and miss. The question is, how do you get to plate appearances? One, I think it starts with they have to, at the very least, do what they did with Will Smith and do a third of the plate appearances belong to Dalton Rushing at the catching position. I think that is good for Will Smith during the long term. I think with less plate appearances, you saw a more efficient, better Will Smith behind the plate. So I think at the very least 2/3, 1/3 going to at the catching position being split between Will Smith and Dalton Rushing. Rushing getting at least a third of the plate appearances behind the plate. Then when it comes to additional ways to get opportunity, the easiest way is if you can convince Freddie Freeman to take a day off every week and a half, 2 weeks or so to be able to get off his feet as he gets older, which he is starting to get older. That would be the best way, easiest way to be able to get Rushing into the mix, especially if you add a more full-time outfielder into the equation. That's going to eliminate even any sense of possibility for Dalton Rushing to be able to get into the outfield. But finding a way to be able to get him at least 300 plate appearances at the big league level with the success that he's had at the minor league level is going to be so important. Do not give up on him yet, but find a way to be able to put him in a position to where he can get more regular at-bats, where he can start to find a way to be able to succeed. Because some of the best players in baseball, not saying that Dalton Rushing will be the best player in baseball, but some of the best players in baseball struggled initially and then found some success. I'm hoping that Dalton Rushing, based on his past track record, is able to find some consistency and some success, because if he finds some success, that's going to open up a lot of different opportunities for the Dodgers to do with Will Smith and Dalton Rushing behind the plate.
So you think it can work? You think it can work with Will Smith and Dalton Rushing?
I think they have, with the choices that they made, that is going to be the decision of what they're going to do, regardless of whether I think that's going to be the best thing for Dalton Rushing. Because ideally, Dalton Rushing would be getting 2/3 of the plate appearances, not over Will Smith, but as a specific catcher. And that right now is just not a realistic avenue for him. So they got to find ways to be able to get him more consistent at bat. So find a way to be able to get him 3 starts a week, which could cut down to some of the plate appearances for Freddie Freeman. And that I think this comes down to Dalton Rushing. If he can earn it, they're going to find ways to get him more plate appearances.
So I will say this too. Another reason why you have to keep Dalton Rushing is I don't see a major league ready caliber catcher in the minor leagues. I think you could go get one maybe, but
yeah, that would be the path. Is you go get.
I think that would have to be the path. Yeah, but he's not in the system at this moment. Okay, so you wanted to talk about Kike and Miguel Rojas.
Okay, this brings up a fascinating question. Do you bring back Kike and Miguel Rojas, or do you bring back one of them or none of them? That's a fascinating conversation, and which actually fits in well with this roster right now. What do you say? What do you think? And what is your initial thoughts with this case?
I don't want to give my thoughts on this.
All right. So
I don't at all want to give my public thoughts on this.
Okay, so let's talk about each one of these players. Let's talk a little bit about each one of these players, because there's one that I've stated and I feel a lot more confident about bringing back, because when you look at each one of these players, you're looking for different pairs of tools. Now, ideally, you would have somebody, I think this goes a little bit into the Max Muncy conversation, because Max Muncy is somebody that performs really well, especially against right-handed pitching, the plus side of the platoon. he doesn't perform well against left-handed pitching. Last year really struggled. Past 3 seasons, about a 78 WRC plus. It's getting into territory where you're thinking about, man, maybe might need a little bit more of a consistent platoon with Max Muncy, especially as he's getting older, and we want to keep Max Muncy as healthy as we possibly can. Maybe not a full-time platoon, but a pretty good platoon. Alex Freeland is not going to be a platoon with Max Muncy because he hits right-handed pitchers as better than left-handed pitching. That doesn't work out with a platoon, which means there could be a path with, and same thing with Haseong Kim. I think they utilize him versus righties more than they do lefties, which opens up a path for either a Miguel Rojas or a Kike Hernandez to be able to come into the mix. Where Miguel Rojas, where the argument for him stands, is not only is he a phenomenal defender, which the numbers bear it out consistently, he is a great defender, but he's really good against left-handed pitching, which pairs up really well with somebody like a Max Muncy at the third base, being able to get him rest. Miguel Rojas, over the past 3 seasons, 113 WRC plus against left-handed pitching. Last year, 143 WRC plus against left-handed pitching. Miguel Rojas has that skill, plus the defensive ability. And then we get into the conversation about Kike Hernandez. Now, this is a very difficult conversation. One, just a little bit of news about Kike Hernandez. I believe he's expected to miss maybe a month or 2 at the beginning of the 2026 season. Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that. And I think that actually could be a good thing to help his chances be able to come back to the top.
Well, that gives runway for younger guys.
It gives a little bit of runway for younger guys. It also provides a path for him to potentially be added once spring training starts. You add him to the roster, find a way to put him on the 60-day injured list and to have him on the mix, and then slow walk him back depending on what his roster needs actually are. The difficult conversation about Kike Hernandez is some of the numbers just have not looked good, and it has been something where it's been fairly consistent over the past couple of years. And I know this is a conversation that we don't really want to have as Dodgers fans because we talk about playoff Kike, but let's look at the regular season numbers. And then let's actually take an examination at the playoffs numbers, which we'll get into the conversation in just a second as far as why the playoff numbers could be what they have. But if we look at Kike Hernandez over the past several seasons, if the numbers could actually load here on Fangraphs, we'll go ahead and blow this up. But let's actually just look at the past 3 seasons for him overall. 227, 279, 364 with a 75 WRC plus for Kike Hernandez over the past 3 seasons. The underlying metrics suggest that statistics are pretty solid. Now, let's look at the stretch where a lot of Dodgers fans are going to point to, which is when Kike had glasses and when he got injured. That was about a 106 WRC plus from about July 11th of 2024 through May 28th of 2025. Pretty solid stretch for him. But if you look at the overall big picture year after year for Kike Hernandez, some of the numbers are not necessarily great year after year. And if you look at the splits, 72 WRC plus versus right-handed pitching, just an 82 WRC plus versus left-handed pitching. If you're talking about him in some sort of platoon role, I'm not sure if there's an exact role for him. Yeah. And then this gets into the difficult conversation because the reason, obviously, why you have Kike Hernandez part of the mix, and I know I'm probably getting blown up by fans because Kike Hernandez is amazing and great for the Dodgers fans.
I passed the reason why, by the way.
But the reason why Kike Hernandez is brought into the Dodgers is specifically because of October. That is the one reason why the Dodgers have Kike Hernandez is for October and because he's versatile. Those are the only 2, and because he's a good clubhouse guy. 3 reasons. Let's be honest about this past October.
Because he doesn't give it, you know what? Yeah.
Yes. Let's be honest about this past October. Kike Hernandez was not his past self this past October, which I know was impacted by his injury. But it was an 80 WRC plus the entire postseason. And during the World Series, it was an 18 WRC plus for Kike Hernandez. 1-8 with a 52% strikeout percentage. I don't know, and this perhaps could be a little bit of a you know that you can probably only keep one of these 2 players, either Miguel Rojas or a Kike Hernandez. If you're talking about in either or with some of the track record year after year that each one of these players has, and with the one skill set that typically you can count on with Kike Hernandez being his postseason performance.
You're going there.
Is it actually right to bring back Kike Hernandez?
Go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it, Austin.
Should the Dodgers bring back Kike Hernandez?
You're saying Rojas over Kike.
I'm saying Rojas over Kike because he has two skill because of fit. He can hit against left-handed pitching that fits really well with and pairs really well with Max Muncy and either a Haseong Kim or an Alex Freeland on this roster. And he can provide defensive assurity. Kike Hernandez is solid all around, but he's more of a league average type of defender, whereas Miguel Rojas is a special type of defender, a great defender. Kike Hernandez, great for the channel, has been great in the postseason for the Dodgers. And actually, this injury could be something where they add him onto the mix, knowing that there's probably going to be an injury to the position player core later in the season and fit him in the mix. But if it was something where he was healthy to start the season, now it was a choice between either Miguel Rojas or Kike Hernandez. If Kike Hernandez can't hit in October, why would you choose Kike Hernandez over Miguel Rojas on this roster?
Because he is a folk legend with Dodgers fans.
He is a folk legend. Do folk legends make the best baseball players?
I am going to try to
pass on this one.
No, I'm going to. Oh, you never know. You know I never pass, right? I am going to risk never having another participant on Dodgers Dawgs Live ever again by saying this. I don't see any reason to have Kike Hernandez on this roster until the playoffs. You can go get him at the trade deadline like they did 2 years ago. I just don't see any reason for Kike Hernandez to be taking away at bats from younger players in April and May. I just don't see the point in that when the only time you're ever going to need Kike while you have him is for October. And then I'll transition to say this, okay? I think if Alex Call takes every inning and every at-bat that Kike Hernandez got in the playoffs, I think the Dodgers are still world champions.
I don't 100% disagree with that, and that's a little bit of a pin drop. Perhaps you could say that's injuries, and you could say that Kike Hernandez was not 100%. What I'm saying is this would be the rationale for the mindset of Dodgers fans, but I think this also is underestimating the type of player that Alex Call is. Alex Call has consistently been, or at least from his overall career, around a league average type of bat with a pretty solid defense that he's been able to provide and can do a lot of different things. He doesn't perhaps have the actual prowess.
Prove me wrong. If Alex Call gets every inning and every at bat that Kike got, the Dodgers don't win. Prove me wrong on that. How can you prove that wrong?
I can't because I haven't not seen that specifically play out in and of itself. I think this brings up a fascinating conversation with Kike Hernandez. What
defensive play does Alex Call not make that Kike made?
I'm not saying that there is any that he has.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
I think this brings up a fascinating conversation, particularly with Kike Hernandez and Miguel Rojas, because they obviously are historic figures for the Dodgers. They will forever be a Los Angeles Dodger, both of them, and they will forever be heroes to the Los Angeles Dodgers. How long do you want to keep going down that, and how long do you want to continue to do that when there are some worrying trends with some of these players, particularly with Kike Hernandez with his regular season successes he's not had? Yes, I know he was injured during the course of the regular season during the second half of last year. And there is when he got glasses, he got a lot better. But also he performed about as well as Chris Taylor during the exact same stretch in 2024 when he got his glasses.
Do you want the answer?
Yeah.
As how long do you go with that? You go with that until you don't win a World Series with them.
In which case, if that is the path that they decide to go down,
that's where people are throwing stuff at me right now. Like, shut the hell up, God, you old man.
You would keep rolling with it until it doesn't work, and then that also brings up the path of, okay, which role does Kike Hernandez fill during October? And it could just be whoever's not playing well, he takes over their position, which brings in the versatility that he has. So if it is something where they know he's going to be out a little bit and they bring him back specifically because of that and because they can fill in different positions, fine. Kike Hernandez is great. He's great for the channel and what we have here.
Yes.
But I don't know if that's something where baseball mind, especially because of his struggles during this past postseason, which was not the greatest postseason for Kike Hernandez, if this is going to be the best baseball move for the Los Angeles Dodgers, which does not feel great to say, but I think is a reality that we have to at least examine if we are Dodgers fans, because we want to create the best club possible, not just for nostalgic reasons, but for going forward, because we want to make the Los Angeles Dodgers continually have World Series. And is bringing in Miguel Rojas and Kike Hernandez and completely cutting out Haseong Kim and Alex Freeland and Ryan Ward and some of the younger guys' plate appearances, is that going to help lead to not just a World Series success in 2026, but future World Series success? Are your odds overall to win as many World Series as possible going to increase or decrease with that? That's the question that you have to answer.
Let me sum this conversation up by saying I want Kike Hernandez in the playoffs. I'm like everybody else. I'm not stupid. I see the same thing everybody else does. But 2 years ago, when did the Dodgers get Kike Hernandez?
In 2023, they got him at the trade deadline.
Okay. Last year, what difference would the regular court? Did the Dodgers win so did the Dodgers? Did they have home field all the day? They played in the wild card, right?
Last year they had home field advantage. They had to play in the divisions in 2024. 2025 they had to play in the wild card round.
Correct. So what good did Kike Hernandez do the Dodgers? I know he was injured, but he's not a regular season player. So without Kike Hernandez in that lineup, okay, do the Dodgers do any worse in the regular season?
During the regular season, you could argue that some of the other players would actually make them a little bit better as an offense.
So they wouldn't have had to play in the wild card, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm not saying, hey, let's not take away Kike Hernandez from the heart and soul of this team, which is what he does in October. I'm saying he really hasn't added or provided anything until then in the last 2 years. And in the meantime, he is taking away a lot from somebody like me that loves the prospects from at bats from maybe a Dalton Rushing or Ryan Ward or a Haseong Kim or a Alex Freeland. And there's no way, based on what Kike Hernandez gives you from April until maybe August, you could convince me those at bats from Kike are worth taking those at bats away from. That's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. And it comes down to a conversation of how much do you prioritize the younger plate appearances for some of the guys? Do you want to see if Haseong Kim is going to be part of the regular mix going forward in 2026, 2027, and beyond? Do you want to see if Alex Freeland can be an option for the Dodgers to turn to and an answer that they could turn to at the third base position for 2027 and beyond? If you want to see what that has, you likely have to sacrifice on a roster spot for one of them, which requires an opening and either no outfield mix to be able to add to the equation, no outfield addition, free agent to be able to add in, or none of either a Miguel Rojas or a Kike Hernandez.
Would Alex Call have made that play that ended Game 6?
To end the Game 6? I mean, that was a phenomenal jump and a phenomenal play. I'm confident in Alex Call as a defensive outfielder to where I say probably he makes that play. But also, you got to give credit to Kike Hernandez for the play.
But I do know that Kike did make that play. That's all I do know. And again, I'm not saying take Kike away from October. I want him on the roster in October. I just don't see the at-bats from April to August being worth taking away from the younger guys. And I fully get it. I have some contrarian in me, and I love the prospects. From that perspective, I want to defend the prospects to give them the most amount of major league experience. I am a hugger from that perspective. Definitely not a hugger wanting to keep them in the Dodgers system. I'm the opposite of that. And I understand I'm a contrarian, and I understand that almost every Dodgers fan is going to look at me and go, "You fat, ugly son of a bitch, what are you talking about?" I don't even want to listen to you even talk about that conversation anymore. I understand that's what most people are going to think.
If they're going to yell at you, how much more do you think they're going to yell at me? I'm the one who pointed out these numbers.
Yeah, but you're young and pretty, man. I'm old and fat, and
Well, here's the thing. I also pointed out his WRC plus during the World Series, which was 18 and a 52% strikeout percentage. I'm the one who should get all the blame for that in particular if it wants to come to this conversation. But it's all about trying to make the team as best as possibly can, and that's what we're all trying to do.
And by the way, we've both gone on for like 10 minutes over. And Ian Cowan put it in real easy quotes. We need to get younger. There, I said it for you guys.
There you go.
Absolutely outsetting. Austin, this has been a lot of fun. Again, I'm missing my wife and my 2 babies right now, so I'm getting ready to go hang out with them. Any final thoughts before we get out of here? We've had a wonderful show. Great job tonight. What an awesome crowd on Dodgers Dawgs. And I haven't reminded you in the 45 minutes we've been on air, Oklahoma State got themselves a new football coach today, Eric Morris. We are back, baby. Let's go, Pokes.
Yeah, there you go. Let's go, Pokes. Let's win some football games this upcoming year, hopefully. No, it's been a fun show. We're doing another one of these coming up pretty soon. Tomorrow, right? We're going to do another one of these, talking a little bit more about the pitchers, correct?
Tomorrow. We're going to do part 2 of the position battles. Part 2, we're going to talk about the Sonny Gray trade. Write that down. We had that in the chat today. We didn't get to the possibility of getting Sonny Gray.
Boston from St. Louis is what the deal actually is. He got traded to traded to Boston. So we might address that a little bit, but it's going to be primarily about the Dodgers, and especially the Dodgers on the roster. What are some of the guys that we want to see get a lot of different innings? How do we map out some of these innings? Because there's a lot of different guys that are going to be part of the mix. The difficulty is we don't know about injuries, how they're going to be able to mix in, or some of the limited type roles. We can try to gauge and guess as best as we possibly can. And find different ways to be able to adapt guys onto the roster. Pitching side is going to be tomorrow. This has been a lot of fun, Case.
Yeah. Bottom line is we're both full of shit. I'm full of more shit than you are, right? Is that how that goes?
At least I have numbers to back me up.
You do. You absolutely do. I've got, just the eyeball test, the typical old man, right? Okay, man. Austin, great job tonight. You Dodgers dogs, you're the absolute best. Thank you so much. It's always so humbling to have the great crowds. And by the way, if you have not seen the Tim Neverett interview, go check that out. Let's get that thing to 1,000 views or above. That'll make me feel good about it. And plus, I just enjoyed getting to talk to Tim, and I thought Tim just did just such a wonderful job being very honest and candid. And it's not one of those canned interviews where you get just, the standard answers. He really dove into a lot of personal feelings. And so I think it'd be worth your time. Go check out that Tim Neverett interview if you have not done that. So until tomorrow, Austin, great job. Thanks, man.
Appreciate you, Case.
You Dodgers dogs are the best, and as always, it's a great day to be a Dodger.